when you give up free time, playtime, enjoyment, TV time, sports time, whatever, when you give up something that you love, Robert Kiyosaki was giving up his baseball on Saturday. When you give up something that you love to learn something, it changes the dynamic of that. Let me give you the example of giving up money, because it's a little easier to explain. When you give up money to learn something, to learn some information, like for example for self-help stuff, if you're going to seminars, reading books and all, and I have spent a lot of money on this stuff. When you give up money, for one, when you spend money on something, like when you spend $1,500 on something, on a course, you're like, oh my God, I spent so much money. I have to effing learn this stuff. I have to master it, because that's a lot of money. To me, it's a lot of money at this point. I'm still in college. And when you put a lot of money into something, obviously you're gonna want to just extract as much as you can out of it to get your money's worth, especially if you're cheap like me. That notwithstanding, that's pretty obvious. I don't have to explain that too much. But then there's another dynamic. When you give up something that you love to learn, something changes inside of you. I know this is going to sound slightly out there and esoterical. There's a shift in you when you give up something that you love to learn something that you want to learn and master. It could be self-help stuff. It could be to learn a language. It could be to learn math. I don't care what it is. When you give up something, there's a shift inside of you. Something just, I cannot explain it. Something changes. And I think that really affects the process of learning. And if you're learning from a mentor, like as Robert Kiyosaki, the author of this book, was learning from his rich dad. His rich dad wanted to see, what are you willing to give up to learn this information? What are you willing to sacrifice to study with me? What are you willing to give up to learn what I know? It is almost, it's to show your commitment. It's a way of showing your commitment when you're willing to give up things. I remember, I just thought of the story. In one of his later books, I think it was his fifth book, Retire Young, Retire Rich, I believe. He talks about how when he was trying to, and this is much later in his life. He was talking about how he wanted to get into the mining business. And so he went to this guy, mining business, and I think it was taking companies public actually, excuse me. He wanted to learn how to take companies public. And so he goes to this guy and he says, okay, look, see, I have investments, so I can take care of myself. You don't have to pay me anything, but I want to learn what you know, and I want